Now, I know we've all seen the Annie Costabile stuff. Annie Costabile, Venom going back and forth. Shout out to Venom, by the way. Go subscribe if you haven't already. But I got some other things for you, so please stay tuned. We got a couple other things that I haven't seen yet that I will be going over right after we talk about this Annie Costabile stuff. Let's get right into it, shall we? Like the video, hype the video. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below and subscribe to the channel. That would mean so much to me. And
yesterday was an absolute massacre. WNBA media personalities got exposed so badly that some of them deleted their posts by the end of the day. We're talking about journalists with verified checkmarks, established reporters with thousands of followers, all getting systematically dismantled in real time. And the best part, they did it to themselves. Every single one of them walked into a trap they built with their own hands.
Annie Costabile, the first WNBA media victim from yesterday, promoting an article from one Brian Hamilton. The fascinating case of Caitlin Clark versus the WNBA. Who controls the spirit of the sport? A must-read column by Brian Hamilton. You hear that, folks? Must-read column.
Let's start with Annie Costabile, who kicked off this disaster by promoting an article from Brian Hamilton titled "The Fascinating Case of Caitlin Clark versus the WNBA, Who Controls the Spirit of the Sport." She called it a must-read column. Must read. That's a strong endorsement from a credible journalist, so naturally people read it. And that's when the problems started, because the article was essentially arguing that Caitlin Clark uses her star power to manipulate referees and bend WNBA rules to her advantage. One small problem with that theory.
Actually, it's not a must-read unless you think Cece is a spoiled diva that abuses her power to bend the WNBA rules at her will. Knew if Annie shared anything Caitlin Clark related, there'd be something in here tainting her image. Damn. Damn. Not a must-read article, unless you think Cece's a spoiled diva. Sheesh. Now, Annie Costabile fired.
Content creator Venom immediately called out the obvious issue. If you actually watch the games, which Annie apparently doesn't, you'd know that Caitlin Clark gets officiated more harshly than almost any player in the league. She's been given technical fouls for clapping, for slapping a stanchion in frustration. She gets mauled on drives with no calls while defenders who barely touch her get superstar whistles. The premise of the entire article collapses the moment you apply it to reality. But Annie doubled down with that condescending tone that WNBA media loves to use.
Now Annie Costabile fires back in her smug, condescending way. Oh my God! You caught me! Anything Clark related for me is tainting her image 100%. I thought Brian's column highlights that officials are getting in the way of competitive moments between players on the floor. But yes, continue with this take. Now, you know what Annie's response here tells me? One, she lacks in reading comprehension. Or two, she didn't read the article.
Her response was peak WNBA media arrogance. Oh my God, you caught me. Anything Clark related for me is tainting her image 100%. Dripping with sarcasm, acting like the criticism was absurd. Then she claimed the article was actually about officials getting in the way of competitive moments between players. Except that's not what the article said at all. Either Annie has serious reading comprehension issues, or she never actually read the piece she was promoting as must-read content. Neither option is great for a professional journalist.
How you can read that article and come away with anything other than what Venom said is ridiculous, and it definitely didn't highlight anything about officials getting in the way of competitive moments. It pretty much stated, in summary, can star players get the WNBA to conform to allow them to continue to play? Can star players force referees to call things in certain directions to allow?
Then Venom brought receipts. He pointed out that during the Indiana Fever's recent loss to Portland, the Mystics went on a massive run when Caitlin wasn't even on the floor. The collapse had nothing to do with her. Annie's response? No, just no. That's the extent of her analysis. No statistics, no game footage, no counter-argument, just no, because she clearly didn't watch the game she's commenting on. This is the level of professionalism we're dealing with.
Allow them to stay on the floor, to allow them to stay in the games. Can star players cry their way? Now, if we've seen anything about how Caitlin Clark gets officiated, clearly none of that applies to her because she doesn't get any of the calls going in her way, offensively or defensively. She gets technical fouls for slapping stanchion signs. She gets technical fouls for clapping. So everything that this article said about star players trying to bend the WNBA to their will, that's pretty much what it was. Can Caitlin Clark bend the WNBA to her?
But here's where it gets truly embarrassing for Annie and Brian Hamilton. The article's entire premise was about star players getting special treatment from the league, getting technical fouls rescinded, getting referees to call games in their favor. And on the exact same day this article dropped, we got confirmation that Caitlin Clark's technical foul from the previous game would not be rescinded by the WNBA. Meanwhile, Paige Bucker's got a technical for clapping rescinded. Diana Taurasi told reporters before her technical was even reviewed that she knew it would be rescinded, and it was. So the two examples of players actually manipulating the system both have Connecticut connections. Both fit a certain demographic that WNBA media protects. But the article focused on Caitlin Clark, who gets none of these benefits.
Because unlike Annie Costabile, we watch the games. Speaking of watching the games, yeah, Venom even called her out on not watching the games either.
Portland goes on a massive run when Caitlin's not even in the game, right? Like, this is not all on Caitlin, you know?
No.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's certainly not all on.
Oh, you really had a lot to add there, Annie. No. I didn't even watch the game. But no.
The comments section destroyed Annie. People asking where her commentary was on Paige's rescinded technical, calling the article trash, pointing out the obvious double standard. And Annie had no response because there is no response. The evidence is right there in the league's own decisions. Caitlin Clark doesn't get preferential treatment. She gets the opposite, but WNBA media needs her name for clicks, so they'll write whatever narrative generates engagement. Facts be damned.
Now, this is when it gets better. Talking about having officials bend to star players' wills, Caitlin Clark's, her technical foul will not be rescinded from the WNBA. Interesting. But let's take it a step further. Paige Bucker's, she got a technical foul for clapping. They rescind the Wiggers to... sorry, I had to laugh at that. But Paige Bucker's, she got her technical foul rescinded for clapping.
Annie Costabile was victim number one of yesterday's media massacre. But she had company. Lots of company. Because while Annie was getting cooked for promoting a false narrative, another WNBA media personality named Frankie De La Cretaz was posting something so unhinged that it made Annie's takes look reasonable by comparison. We're talking about a take so disconnected from reality that even people who usually defend WNBA media had to step back and say, wait, what?
Going on Threads, I believe this is Threads or whatever whatever that safe space is for soy boys and softies. Frankie Del whatever. Sorry, but two white players riling up predominantly, and I believe this is the same person who, when they were in Connecticut, said that they were scared because Connecticut Sun games used to be like pride parades and gay marches, and now that there were families around, she felt threatened. The heterosexuality of it all threatened her well-being, or his well-being, or its well-being. You guys get it.
Frankie posted on Threads about a recent Fever game where the crowd got loud and rowdy. Standard basketball atmosphere, right? Fans cheering for their team, getting hyped during intense moments. Except Frankie saw something much darker. Quote, sorry, but two white players riling up a predominantly white crowd to harass a group of black women is a bad look. Bad look for the Fever. This was ugly in ways I hesitate to articulate. Then Frankie added that someone compared it to a Klan rally. And while that's hyperbole, it also isn't.
You can't make this stuff up. So Frankie, she cooked herself. She cooked a Klan rally, really? Two white players, but we're just forgetting that Maisha Hynal was in there too, and Raven Johnson was in the mix-up too. Frankie cooked herself, or he cooked himself. You guys get it. And then we got over here, Roberta, the Indiana Fever, having a little bit of fun of themselves. Who should vote the squad to?
Let's be clear about what actually happened at this game. Caitlin Clark and Kelsey Mitchell, who is black, were celebrating with the crowd. Lexi Hull, who is white, was involved. So was Erica Wheeler, who is black. So was Aaliyah Boston, who is black. This wasn't two white players versus black players. This was the Indiana Fever celebrating as a team with their fans. But Frankie saw a Klan rally, saw racial harassment, saw something so sinister that it required a public call-out comparing basketball fans to white supremacists. This is the same person, by the way, who previously complained that Connecticut Sun games used to feel like pride parades and safe spaces, but now that families with children were attending, the heterosexuality of it all made them feel threatened. So we're dealing with someone who views normal family attendance at sporting events as a threat and views normal crowd enthusiasm as racial violence. This isn't journalism. This isn't even activism. This is projection of personal issues onto basketball games.
NBA All-Star, Scott Sophie Cunningham pointing you. Roberta, that's a choice by the official team account. Dude, now Roberta is the one that said Caitlin Clark gives school shooter vibes. WNBA, they had a rough day yesterday. They they exposed themselves yesterday. All the stereotypes that you have about WNBA media, they all reared their ugly head yesterday.
The backlash was immediate and brutal. People pointing out that half the Fever players involved in the celebration were black. People asking how basketball fans cheering for their team constitutes harassment. People noting that Frankie seems to see racism everywhere except in actual racist behavior. And Frankie, like Annie, had no real response. Because when you compare basketball fans to the Klan, you've already lost the argument. You've revealed that you're not operating in reality anymore.
Not serious, clickbait, gaslighting, activism, victimhood. It just all came out at one time. It was just a vomit of shit. Of course, Roberta. Every time you pop on my feed, it's the softest takes imaginable. Are we being serious? What's the problem? Sophie was in the right. Maybe they should highlight what AT said to Maisha instead. It's a great choice. Y'all are so soft, man. The finger feels like a threat. Dude, not everything is serious business. Yesterday was a hard...
But wait, there's more. Because while Annie and Frankie were self-destructing, the Indiana Fever's official team account decided to have some fun on social media. They posted a poll asking fans who should make the All-Star team, and included a photo of Kelsey Mitchell pointing at the camera. Standard team promotion, right? Support your players, engage your fan base, build excitement for All-Star voting. Except one journalist saw something sinister in that pointing finger. Roberta, another WNBA media personality, quote-tweeted the Fever's post with this response. Kelsey Mitchell pointing you, Roberta. That's a choice by the official team account. The implication being that the Fever was somehow threatening or targeting her personally, with a photo of their own player, promoting all-star voting. This is the same Roberta who previously said that Caitlin Clark gives off school shooter vibes. So we're dealing with someone who sees violence and threats in the most innocent interactions. The responses to Roberta were merciless. People calling her soft, asking what the problem was, pointing out that she sees threats in everything. One person wrote, "Every time you pop up in my feed, it's the softest takes imaginable." Another said, "You all are so soft, man, the finger feels like a threat." And they're right. When a player pointing at a camera in a promotional photo feels threatening to you, the problem isn't the photo. The problem is your perception of reality. So in the span of about 12 hours, we had 3 separate WNBA media personalities expose themselves completely. Annie promoting an article with a premise that contradicts observable reality. Frankie comparing basketball fans to the Klan. Roberta feeling threatened by a player pointing at a camera. And all 3 of them got absolutely destroyed in the comments, quote tweets and response videos. This wasn't a bad day for WNBA media. This was a revelation of everything wrong with WNBA media. Because here's what these 3 incidents reveal. First, many WNBA media members don't actually watch the games they cover. Annie's complete ignorance of how Caitlin Clark gets officiated proves that. You cannot watch Fever games regularly and come away thinking Clark manipulates referees. It's impossible. Second, there's a desperate need to inject social justice narratives into every situation, even when they don't apply. Frankie saw racism in a multiracial team celebrating with their fans. That's not analysis, that's agenda. Third, there's an incredible fragility among certain WNBA media members who interpret normal sports interactions as personal attacks or threats. And fourth, most importantly, these media personalities are completely disconnected from the actual WNBA fanbase. The comments on all 3 of these posts were overwhelmingly negative. Not from trolls or haters, but from actual WNBA fans who are sick of this nonsense. Fans who watch the games, who know the context, who can see through the manufactured narratives. The gap between WNBA media and WNBA fans has never been wider, and yesterday made it impossible to ignore. This is why independent creators like Venom, Keep the Vision, Rhodes, Rudy, CDS, Angry Fan, Act Nation, Fly Hippie, and W360 are destroying traditional WNBA media in viewership and credibility. They actually watch the games. They provide analysis based on what happens on the court, not what fits their preferred narrative. They don't see racism in crowd enthusiasm or threats in promotional photos. They treat basketball like basketball, not like a vehicle for personal activism. Meanwhile, established outlets like Bounce Media Network, Tussle Network, Courtside Junk, and The Pulp are getting cooked up and down because they've lost all credibility. When your coverage is indistinguishable from advocacy, when you promote articles without reading them, when you compare fans to the Klan, you're not a journalist anymore. You're an activist with a press pass. And fans can tell the difference. Yesterday was supposed to be just another day of WNBA coverage. Instead, it became a perfect case study in everything wrong with sports media in 2024. The arrogance of promoting articles you didn't read, the desperation to find social justice angles where none exist, the fragility of seeing threats in harmless interactions, the complete disconnect from the audience you're supposed to serve. All of it on full display, all of it getting destroyed in real time. And the saddest part, none of them will learn from this. Annie will keep promoting clickbait articles with Caitlin Clark's name in the title. Frankie will keep seeing racism in integrated team celebrations. Roberta will keep feeling threatened by players pointing at cameras, because they're not interested in covering basketball accurately. They're interested in pushing narratives, generating outrage, and positioning themselves as victims or heroes in culture war battles that don't actually exist in the WNBA. The league itself has to be watching this and wondering what to do. Because these media personalities claim to support the WNBA, but they're actively driving fans away with their nonsense. New fans who came for Caitlin Clark or other rookies get hit with articles calling them racist or comparing them to the Klan. Longtime fans who just want basketball coverage get endless think pieces about social justice instead of game analysis. And everyone gets condescending responses when they point out obvious errors or false narratives. This is unsustainable. You cannot build a media ecosystem on bad faith arguments, unread articles, and manufactured outrage. Eventually, fans stop engaging, they stop clicking, they stop caring, and they find their basketball coverage elsewhere, from people who actually watch the games and treat them with respect. That's already happening. The view counts don't lie. The engagement numbers don't lie. Independent creators are eating traditional WNBA media's lunch because they provide what fans actually want: honest, informed, entertaining basketball coverage. So what happens next? Either WNBA media figures out that their current approach is failing and makes serious changes, or they become increasingly irrelevant as independent creators take over the space. Given yesterday's performance and the complete lack of self-awareness on display, I'm betting on the latter. They'll keep doing what they're doing, keep getting destroyed in the comments, keep losing credibility and audience until they're talking to themselves in an empty room while millions of fans get their WNBA coverage from creators who actually know what they're watching. The WNBA deserves better media coverage than this. The players deserve better, the fans definitely deserve better, and yesterday proved beyond any doubt that the current crop of WNBA media personalities are not capable of providing it. They're too busy seeing racism in crowd enthusiasm, threats in promotional photos, and star power manipulation in players who get officiated more harshly than anyone else. They're not journalists, they're activists who happen to have media credentials. And yesterday, the entire basketball world got to see exactly what that looks like. So here's my question for you. How much longer can WNBA media continue like this before the league itself has to step in? Because at some point, when your official media partners are comparing your fans to the Klan and driving away potential viewers, that becomes a business problem. Not just a media problem, a business problem that affects revenue, growth, and the league's future. Drop your thoughts in the comments and let me know if you think any of these media personalities will actually learn from yesterday's disaster, or if we're just going to see more of the same nonsense tomorrow.